Hi, my name is Rihanna Munir,
And my name is Chase Desjardins.
and we're the hosts of River Reflections. River Reflections is our capstone for the Leadership in International Relations program. For this episode, we will be focusing on mental health.
In this episode, we're going to be asking our teacher guest how they can incorporate mental health check-ins in the classroom and how they can help students that might be struggling with mental health. And for our student guest, we're going to be asking some methods that they use to keep their mental health under control and just ways to stay calm.
So without further ado, let's introduce our first guest, Mr. Shu. Hello and welcome to our first segment. We are joined by the wonderful Mr. Schumacher today. You may know him from his many classes like English 11, Teachers for Tomorrow, or even African American Literature, or maybe just his wonderful smile.
So for our first question, we wanted to ask you, how are you going to incorporate mental health check-ins in your classroom, or how do you already do so?
That's a great question, and I actually would like to try to do more of more mental health check-ins. Today, in fact, in my African American Lit class, I gave them all an index card and asked them to put their name on it. And then the first question was, how are you doing mentally? How's your mental health? It's actually kind of ironic that you asked this question today. What's going on in your life? Is there anything you want me to know? And then I asked a question about the content that we were doing, and then a third question, but I'm going to take the time to read all of those question number ones and make sure everybody's doing okay and pull kids outside who maybe are not. I do that with some exit tickets a little bit throughout the year, and I try to stand in the hallway and meet people as they come in and just try to see if they seem upset or seem good or if I notice any changes. But it's certainly something that I think we all could spend more time on and we could work on more.
I do have to agree with that. I feel like being in like two of your classes, because last year being in English 11, like actually getting to like have a teacher who's like, you're not just a grade to me and like you're actually like a person. I feel like that really meant a lot, especially like because junior year was so stressful and having like so many things to do. And then for our Teachers for Tomorrow class, just like checking in like, yeah, how are you doing in your classes, but also how are you doing like outside of that? I feel like that really is something that we all need.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, like I definitely noticed that when I was in your class, like you take the time to actually check on people and you're not just like worried about grades and stuff. You care like how are you doing or like how has this grade affected you? Like you don't just like I don't know how to explain it. You just bring a good vibe and you just like let everybody
Appreciate
know
that.
that you're like there to support them, and I think that's a really good thing.
Thank you for your answer. For our next question, this is more about you rather than the students. What's one thing you've improved in your own mental health?
Hmm. That's another good question. I guess I would say I'd look at it a couple ways. One way would be that I'm trying to be less stressed. It's always a battle with me, especially as an English teacher, because there's so much to read and so much to grade, and there's a lot that I take home. But like we just said, you guys aren't statistics. You're not just things at a desk. You're people, and I got to remember why I even chose teaching. And I chose teaching for people. I didn't choose teaching for grading. So when I let that get a little too high up on my radar, the grading part, I think I have to just try to step back and take a deep breath and have some perspective and realize that there's some really great parts about this job. And that's just one part that I have to do. But there's a lot of things that I get to do. And so I'm trying to view it more through that lens as best I can. So I would think that would be a main one. I think it helps too, um, just going home and seeing my kids and realizing that there's a life outside of work, and just for you guys there's a life outside of schoolwork, and I think you need those times to really remember that you're working to live and not living to work. So that would be my answer.
That's awesome. And for our last question, last and final question, it is, how do you think that teachers can help students improve their mental health, or how do you think that you can support students that are already struggling with mental health?
um, I know that certain things with mental health are private, and for example, if you told me something in confidence, you would not want me to tell all of your other teachers.
Yeah.
But I think when there are ways, when students are just sharing that they're going through a tough time, it would probably be beneficial that we talk to each other as a faculty and let each other know, hey, you see this person on odd days, I see this person on even days. We can both kind of keep an eye out for them. Because just naturally, I think as teachers, you have some students who trust you, or they might trust another teacher more than you, and so as best we can, if we kind of look for those opportunities and then we share those opportunities with each other, that could help. I think that the class periods are so long too, 87 minutes or whatever they are. And so we probably should build in some time for stress release, just some downtime, even a chance to check your phone if you need it, or a chance to um, be able to talk to the teacher, where if I see that you had your head down in class, I could call you over and just check on you really quickly. Whereas if we're working bell to bell, we never have that opportunity. And then if the bell rings and you walk out the door, oh, I've missed my chance. So I think those are some ways to maybe have a little extra time where we look toward you guys instead of teaching to you.
Yeah, I think that's really good because like the thing where you mentioned people with their heads down, like sometimes like you're just not having a good day or you're tired and you need to put your head down, and like I don't know, I just appreciate the fact that you're not like tapping on people's desks or slamming your hand down or like telling them to wake up. You're like actually seeing like, hey, why do we have our head down? Like, is it because they're tired? Is it because you're sad? Like I think that's a pretty good way to check on people.
I do wish that some teachers were a bit more observant. I feel like they don't really see that. They just see like your grades and if you're turning in assignments, but like physically seeing how you are and like actually seeing your actions. I feel like that's something that not a lot of teachers do that like I wish they would do, but that's definitely something that I hope will change.
And I think it's something we all could be better at. Even though you're expressing appreciation that from time to time I've been able to do it, I'm sure there's times I miss a kid who came in sad. And so I think if it becomes more in our forefront, we can catch more kids when they're struggling.
I feel like even like friends, I feel like sometimes friends don't necessarily like know what's going on in their lives. It's more like just seeing what you see like on the outside. That's what really catches your attention, not really like what's going on inside. And I feel like that's something that nobody really talks about. It's like something that is definitely prioritized in life, but it's not something that people actually like take into action and like want to work on.
It's true. You actually just gave me another idea there. A lot of times there's so little time at school for you all to talk. Even lunch is 20 some minutes, that maybe if we fostered more time where you could actually communicate, if I put you in a group of 4 in a class, you might talk about what you're doing this weekend and just have those surface level conversations. But if I put you in a group of 4 and you in a group of 4 and I give you kind of a deeper question, then maybe as part of that deeper question, you'll be a little vulnerable and you'll share something, and the person next to you will kind of know that you're struggling or know to ask how you are, or show that they care. I don't think we give you guys a lot of that opportunity in school. And so it's hard to have more than just a surface level conversation, which is what people crave. They want something a little deeper, a little more caring. So.
All right. Really good points, Mr. Shu.
Well, thank you.
All right, well, that concludes our segment with Mr. Shu. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You made some very great points. Any final comments that you have to say to anybody watching?
No, I just think it's a great thing you all are doing. And it's really nice that people are concerned with each other's mental health. I think we all learned that over COVID, how big a deal it was to really check in on each other. So the fact that you two are making this a part of your mission and your goal is a really good thing. Happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. And on to our next segment with our student guest.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special announcement.
Do you like frozen yogurt?
Do you like supporting the arts?
Then come out to Sweet Frog at Westchester Commons tonight from 4 to 9 to support our capstone. I'm Fran.
And I'm Johanna.
And we are running this year's Show Choir Reveal capstone, Mission to Shine.
Yes, and pop out for a sweet treat to help support the performing arts community.
Yay!
Welcome to River Reflections, Cassidy.
Thank you.
Hey, Cassidy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Cassidy Metcalf. I'm a 10th grader at James River.
All right, so for our very first question, we have, why is mental health important to you?
Because I myself have some mental health problems, and I do talk to a therapist about it. And I feel like it's important to recognize when you need help and when like you are struggling. And I think that if you don't get the help, it can like do a lot of things. So I feel like mental health is important when you are able to recognize it and so on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like mental health is something that really should be talked about, and regardless of who you talk about it like with, it should be something that you.
And I think honestly, even if you just talk about it to yourself, I think it's important too. As long as you, I think if you recognize it yourself, that's really important.
Yeah.
Like that's a big step.
Realizing, like, maybe I need a little bit of help, or maybe I need some support.
Yeah.
Question is from BowenM.815 on Instagram. They said, "How do you deal with stress?"
I usually like listen to music. I love doing that. Removing myself from the actual situation that caused myself the stress is always helpful, because I feel like if I'm still in that like area or space that like gave me that stress, it'll make it worse. Or you know what? Just calling like, my friend. I have a best friend who Sally doesn't go here, but I call her Pan. So if she sees this, what's up, Pan? But I always call her, even if it's like even if I'm not talking about what's going on, I always feel like just talking to somebody about anything, it just kind of removes myself from that like stressful feeling that I had, right? It can be about something completely random, doesn't really matter. It's just I feel like talking to somebody in general always helps.
For our last question, how do you think that we can help students improve their mental health? And this could be from like a student or a teacher or just like anyone you can even think of in this school.
The school, okay. So I feel like things like that can help is that if you think that something's wrong, don't oversee it, right? You would rather like report it and it'd be nothing than you don't report it and it be something, right? Like I feel like there are so many times where like you hear about like a kid who like struggles with something and they didn't talk about it, but they were like signs that like they were struggling and everyone kind of just oversaw it. And I feel like this can go with students or teachers or counselors or anyone who like is in the school building. I think that like if they think that something's wrong with the student, either talk to them about it or talk to the school counselor about it, because that's what they're here for. Because if you oversee it and something happens and you had that feeling that something was wrong, you will regret that. You will always like feel bad for that, right? So you can report it and like nothing can be wrong and that's okay. And then you can report it and something be wrong, but you'd rather report it and like get the student the help that they need, or the teacher if like if there's like a staff member or like an adult that might be struggling, reporting that is okay too. I think that making sure that they are seen and heard is very important, because a lot of times people think that they aren't seen or heard, and that is also what can cause a ton of issues. So just if you realize something's going on, let somebody know.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Cassidy. We appreciate you for spending your time with us.
Of course.
Any final remarks before you go?
If you need help, talk to somebody. Again, like I said before, you don't need to worry about how people will react. Just make sure you get yourself the help you need.
Now that we've discussed mental health check-ins with our guests, we want to see what we as a community can do.
Which is why we've created a method of mental health check-ins, thanks to Mr. Shu for the idea, that you can find in our Instagram bio, or you can ask your teacher to give you access.
It will be a Google form where you can basically just input how you're feeling that are school appropriate, and we'll basically reach out to you and just kind of check in on you and how you're doing. Well, I think that's all we have to talk about today. Thank you so much for joining us on the first episode of River Reflections.
And thank you everyone who participated in our first episode. We really hope that we can have some more James River faculty and students on our show soon. And if you're watching our thing right now, let us know what you think about it in the comments and give us some constructive criticism.
If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to follow us, make sure to follow us on Instagram at
River Reflections JRHS.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all, if you didn't take anything from this episode, make sure you take one thing. That is, keep reflecting, Rapids!